Hope you like this episode 5. Don't chase me, bro, or don't bribe me, bro. So it seems ludicrous to even have this conversation, but it happens all the time. And it's not just the vendor, it's also the CxO. And I get that. I've been on both sides. I've seen it all. I've been part of something of all of those. And it's not a good way of doing business. So let me share screen here and bring up sort of my one slider on some of my thoughts around this and just kind of go from there. So never, ever give the appearance of a bribe. I know that it's going to land. I don't know what the percentage is. I'm going to guess maybe 25%. But there's going to be a 25% that it lands and deal is over. And that's certainly the way I started to operate the last few years, because that told me everything I need to know about the last bullet point we're going to get to in a minute. So you're going to lose as many or more prospects as you're going to gain by making any sort of bribe. Some are really obvious, and these still happen. You still see the headlines, and I know people that have personally been involved in some of these, where it's like literal cash. There was a case here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area where someone who was normally driving, mid-type cars, mid-value cars, and lived in mid-value house and mid-value lifestyle, suddenly had, sports car, suddenly had a sailboat, bigger house, same job. And it didn't take too long, but people figured it out. And unfortunately, bad things happened to both that person and that company. There's other examples, and I don't want to give any more because I don't want to incriminate anyone and have anyone try to figure out who these people were. But I mean, these literally still happen today. So never give even the appearance of a bribe. And so that was an extreme example. So less extreme examples are the tickets to the game. Most companies have some sort of like compliance around a dollar amount. It's typically, for some, it's really low. It's like $50. Probably the average that I've been part of, is like, let's just say $75, $100. So that goes for a meal. So like if I were to go out for a meal, I would need to be somewhat cognizant that we're not ordering a $500 bottle of wine. And certainly not go to a concert, right, where the ticket costs $1,000. Or the sports thing. And it's tempting. I've been there. It is tempting as all get. Hey, you can be in the Jerry Jones suite. I'll take you down to the field. Have you ever been in the F1 pit? I mean, those things are super tempting, and they sound innocent, like, that won't bias me. And it may not bias you. But it's the appearance that is wrong, is what you have to watch out for. Plus, you're violating your company's compliance or ethics. So bad. So it's best just to step away. Don't even, I used to try to bridge the gap a little bit, where I'd go to a concert and I knew the concert ticket was $350 and I knew my limit was, let's just say, $100, and I'd write a check for the difference. No, I stopped even doing all those sorts of things, because again, it's the appearance. And I wanted to make sure that vendor didn't feel like they had one on me. So there's all sorts of reasons not to do it. I think we all know that, right? I mean, just talking about it seems kind of silly, but it happens. And so that's why we talk about it. So never put that temptation in front of anyone. So literally, I've been, and these were even recent. I've been invited to the Olympics. I've been invited to the Super Bowl. And what it was going to be was the former coach of one of the Super Bowl teams. It was a private party, and there was going to be like 10 of us. And that former coach was going to do the play-by-play. So we're all going to be in the same suite. And he was going to tell us, like, kind of give us the inside information. How cool is that? Man, that sounded so cool. I want to do it. I got to tell you, because these things really happen. Another one came to mind. And again, I won't name names, because, I'm sure, you go back in my history, I definitely crossed the line at some point. And then as my career continued to go forward and I learned more and became a little bit more astute and realized all these things we're talking about, I just like black and white, just no gray. So so one time I went to an event, and there was it was like at a ski resort, and spouses were invited. And I went to this event, and as I was checking in at this very posh hotel, one of the other CIOs was walking out with his skis and going to go skiing. But the event that we were brought there for was starting, right? I was just checking in, just got there in the nick of time, get to my hotel room, change clothes, and go to the event. And he was just going skiing. And then his spouse was there, and he left after like a day. He did participate at the dinner. The next day he left. His spouse stayed for 2 more days. And so for the spouses, they did spas and all that kind of stuff. Crazy. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And it's so wrong on so many levels. So don't do it. Sometimes it's helpful to think, what would the headlines read? So if someone did find out, like you were off gallivanting something on vendors, they were viewing you as a prospect, and a vendor was trying to entice you to make a decision to go their direction, that wouldn't look good, right? So that's either. I always say, hey, give value. So as a vendor, just look to give value. I think that's going to win a lot more people over. Yeah, there are some slimy CIOs, CxOs that are going to take it, and you can bribe them. And that's why it's still done, because it works. And there's a lot of different ways, and we won't go into all of them. But it happens, and don't be a part of it, either side. And then use that money in lower cost. That's what I always think about. Man, if you're going to, try and wine and dine all of us, and take us to the Olympics, that's going to cost, a lot of money. Or the Wimbledon, that was another one, Wimbledon. And it's like, that's going to cost a lot of money. Why don't you just plow that back into like reducing our costs, and then everyone wins, because it's a cheaper price. But here, I know I come across, because the videos are actually made for vendors, so I know I come across harsh on vendors, and I sort of protect the CxOs. But I gave you some examples where CxOs are part of this problem, and I'll tell you, and I'll give you another real life example. And this one happened this year. So I asked someone, a CxO, I said, hey, I would love to spend more time with you and learn a little bit more about your organization, what you're trying to do. What sort of things do you like that you would give me that time? All right. And the person told me the World Cup. And that's why when I pulled out the shoe, I actually have a World Cup soccer ball somewhere. Couldn't find it, but I still have my soccer shoes. He wanted me to take him to the World Cup. Now, presumably, if I'd taken him to the World Cup, he would have become, we'd have business. But it's never worth it. Never worth it. It's just wrong. It's just unethical. It's slimy. It's shifty, right? And that's the last thing. We're always talking about, we want to create these partnerships. And if the partnership is based on, this kind of slimy gray area, a lot of it's not gray, but some of it can be gray. If it's, hey, let's go fishing, let's go hunting, let's go whatever, it's just not a good way. And I know this is kind of tough message, not as fun as the other ones. But I know that and there's many CIOs like me, that if you just do good value, there's good value in the product and services. You're just a good person. You follow through on everything. You really went to bat to get best pricing for us, over the top customer service, helping us with different problems, even though it might not help you or your company directly. That's what endears us and makes us like, man, I want to do business with that person, because they are above board, they're ethical, they're helpful, they're genuine, they're transparent, they're accountable, they're not shifty, they're not slimy. That's the bottom line. So I know, tough message. And I still have some other ones up my sleeve for the CxOs, just trying to figure out exactly how to do it. Hey, if you enjoyed this, if you thought this was helpful, and you think I can help you as part of Mark's advisory, I can't take you to a soccer game. I can't take you to a football game. I can't do any of that. But what I can do is give you such personalized advisory services, you'll think I'm a member of your team. That's what I can give you. I can guarantee you that. So look at my website, marksadvisory.com. tells you a little bit more about what I do. There's actually an application. Fill out the application. I'll review it and give you a call. And let's see if we're a good fit. Sometimes we're not a good fit. Other times we will be. So you take that step. And again, I'll look for you on episode 6.